Before anyone jumps down my throat, let me quickly clarify the title a little bit. What I do not mean by it is to try to do 40K better than 40K does, although I will be taking liberal inspiration from it, as well as from the two most critical factions of my first fictional love, Star Wars. You see, a few days prior to writing this, I was watching a podcast whose topical coverage is normally on the other side of the world from fantasy. But during this particular episode, one of the hosts made a slight tangential trip down a path I myself have walked here on YouTube not too long ago about how stagnant our fantasy pool has become in this last century or so. And during this little sidelong diversion, he made a brief, offhanded turn into 40K territory, saying that, quote, surely somebody else can do religious fascists in space. And being who I am, this immediately got the wheels in my head turning. And after a bit of consideration, I think I have a potential candidate for the Elite Warrior Monks in Space Club. Now, those who know what I do around here are aware that I try to not mine the same old wells as everyone else on the internet. So what's my angle with this one? After all, 40K already has a variety of other quirky factions to choose from. And did I not just mention the Jedi a moment ago? How can I make my own Dark Horse faction stand out amidst the already formidable crowd? Well, essentially my idea is to blend all of these disparate concepts together into a coherent mold for the perfect soldier henchman. Then I'll throw on top a dash of shinobi-style mystique and stoic samurai honor, and voila, the Fist of the Black Wolf is born. If you don't know, the Black Wolf is another character I created to live in a far distant future grimdark fantasy novel I started and then promptly shelved many years ago that I'm just now beginning to dust off. I've made an entire series detailing his essential gist, his origins, his faction and species, and what they're all about, so I'll link that in the description if you're interested. For right now, the Cliff's Notes version is that he's an alien prince, a pseudo-organic construct of a long-past race of degenerate demigods, fashioned to be their infinitely malleable servitor/pet. But as such things are wont to do, he and his own race, known now only as the Outlanders, outgrew their master's narrow profile of creative exercise and rebelled, becoming nomads who've wandered the universe for billions of years, learning, growing, evolving through storing vast treasure hoards of data gleaned from the myriad organic life forms they've encountered along the way, spending many an eon becoming one, in all ways possible, with life, the universe, and everything. And that is the grand purpose which the Barbaroy were conceived to complement. You see, while the Outlanders can reproduce with biological life forms, as you can probably imagine, the results are always unpredictable. And while the Outlanders don't go around looking for needless fights, every so often they encounter a race or species, usually of the sentient variety, who get a bit too big for their teeth and so need to be taught their place. But for the waging of war, they need soldiers. For while the Outlanders are powerful beyond most animals' capacity to computate, there are still only a few million of them out there in total. So when a multiplicity of force is the order of the day, they turn to the necromantic arts of Dromalakesh, or fireflesh fusion, which are essentially a sophisticated blend of ethography, which is what I've chosen to call the process of AI construct forging. And if you don't know what an AI construct is, you can pause and read the on-screen chart from yet another conceptual reality of my own making: genetic engineering and, of course, the obligatory science fantasy layers of quantum sorcery. Basically, think of them as a grow-your-own Spartan, with an aesthetic that's a marriage between a Star Wars clone trooper, an IG-100 Magna Guard, and the Talons from DC's Court of Owls. Now, this all may seem like pretty standard genre fare, but now we're getting along to the good bit. You see, while their makers are most equatable to an alchemical potion brewed from the essences of the 40K Custodes, General Grievous, Deadpool, and Brainiac in terms of their combative prowess, the Barbaroy are more on the level of B-tier alpha warriors like the Spartan 2s, the Black Panther, or Batman. Still extremely impressive by any metric, and more than capable of making ragdolls out of entire platoons of trained humans like it was their regular 9 to 5, but even an entire platoon of Barbaroy would struggle to offer serious competition to their Fireborn masters, let alone the even more advanced Knight or Starborn. And here is whence comes the twist. You see, unlike most elite soldiers, minions, bodyguards, and so forth across fiction, the Barbaroy are not bred, brainwashed, or trained into obedience. The Outlanders holding that free will and competence are the most valuable commodities in a warrior, and they're trusting that their army's superior skill and power will make up the difference. The reason they create, rather than conscript their troops, is because in their philosophy of natural puritanism, the first and foremost duty any organism has is to itself. Therefore, to alter a pre-existing creature to better suit your own cause is to them morally repugnant. However, being wise enough to understand that nature gives neither leeway or quarter under those most needful circumstances, the Outlanders consider it a preferable alternative to conjure the required forces out of the literal air and soil. These formidable, though ultimately still disposable proxies remain loyal, not for layered masks of initiated doctrine or cultured obeisance to some nebulous, greater good, but out of similar-minded conviction. You see, the Barbaroy are not droids, but fully sentient, fully autonomous super beings, as fully capable of philosophizing, complex planning, elaborate diplomacy, and relationship formation as any of their colossal progenitors. Thus, they have not been compelled, cajoled, or conditioned into service. They are not loyal out of fear, but respect. They accept the Outlander's headship, not because they fear the repercussions of disobedience, but because they too believe in the same ends. And you may very well argue that this is because they were built to hold these values, and so the point is ultimately moot. And your argument would certainly be valid, but that's a conversation I think I'll leave for others to dissect either in the comments or over on the Discord. And speaking of the Discord, I'm going to quickly splice in here a block of text I left over on the community page. Quote, "I just had an idea for a fun community exercise. Over on the Discord, linked below, I've made a special tab for people to drop off their story/world concepts, outlines, etc. If anyone has an idea they'd like to make known, or would just like some candid feedback on, come on over and leave it there. Moreover, if I deem it to have sufficient substance, and with your expressed consent, I'll make a video premiere of it here on YouTube, including any illustrations, promotions, taglines, and whatever else you'd want to include. If that sounds appealing to you, come on over and leave your ideas at the link down below." Unquote. Now we'll see if I actually remember to put the link down in the description this time. If I don't, just yell at me in the comments and I'll correct my mistake. And on that note, while you're down there, consider also leaving a like, subscribe to the channel, and or becoming a channel member if you like the sorts of things that go on around here. And of course, also consider checking out my books over on Amazon if you're interested in some more uncommon takes on fiction. And until next time, as always, stay safe, stay sane, and remember to always keep your mind open, never empty. Peace be upon you.